Empower 11, the best of its kind in a highly transformative time. Are you empowered? Ready to turn your life up to 11? Awaken the life of who you are on the inside to match the life you were meant to live on the outside. Empower 11. Now is your time.
Empower 11 Radio.
Welcome to Empower 11. I am Ann Ribley. I am standing in solo right now for this intro because my co-host Jack Voorhees is out. So I am excited. Today is December 26th, the day after Christmas. Now rolling into the week, heading into New Year's. And this is a time of the year where all of us start to get into alignment with what our visions and goals for a new year and a new you could bring. And we have the opportunity, since my co-host Jack Voorhees was unavailable today, that we are going to rebroadcast our Visions versus Goals radio show that we feel is like very powerful to just get in alignment with. You know, for more information about Empower 11, make sure to check us out at www.empower, that's the number 11.com, and hit like on Facebook at Facebook.com/Empower11 to stay tuned to all the events and things that are happening with Empower 11, especially in this upcoming fabulous new year of 2013. Today's show, we are going to talk about visions and getting into that vibrancy, that HD quality, you know, accessing the faculties of our mind and our hearts to get clear vision of what we're about. It's a beautiful day here. I always cherish and honor the space and time that you give to be a part of this conversation. I'd love to hear from you on how your visions are unfolding. What do you envision for your year coming up? What do you envision wherever your life is right now? This was a conversation that Jack and I have had many times, so we thought it would be appropriate to just tune into that visions versus goals. There's a much more powerful way that we can access the unfoldment of all of our wishes and prayers and dreams for ourselves. So I invite you into the conversation. Look forward to all of your feedback and have an empowered new year.
Greetings and welcome to Empower 11 Radio. Today is May 30th, 2012, Wednesday, and this is our live 1-hour show. You can get more information at empower11.com, and we look forward to getting your feedback and info at empower11.com. And you can always check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/empower11. And also iTunes or Spreaker, and we're all over the place. So I am Jack Voorhees, and I am sitting next to our co-host, the hostess with the mostest. It is the beautiful and talented Ann Ribley.
Wow. And how lucky am I, because I'm sitting real close and next to my amazing genius business partner, Jack Voorhees, who's the coolest guy in marketing.
All right. So try to keep your hands to yourself, okay? So today's show is about visions versus goals. And Ann, can you tell me a story about one of your visions? I know I'm putting her totally on the spot here. We don't rehearse this stuff, so.
The one that comes to mind right now is when I was saying love will come to my home. And the reason why I say that that's a vision is when I came out of my 18-year marriage, and it just felt so heavy, this idea of being in a loving relationship, any kind of long-term relationship again. And what's crazy is I'm a partnering person, but I really got this place of peace in my solitude of just being alone with my kids, and I was really okay with it, and I was loving the peace of mind and the creativity that was coming through to me. But I knew that I'm a good partner in life. And so when I would think about being in a relationship again, it felt too much to like have that goal, to be in that place. It seemed too hard. It just seemed like, how could I ever, make it happen to find like the right person and the partner with what I was looking for. So I released it by just being in this place of a vision for myself. And it was love would come to my home. And I knew that love would come to my home. I would be at home with it. It would feel easy. It would have flow to it. It would be natural to who I am. So this is what I told my mind. I think goals sometimes can just be in a place of the mind, and we desire to give the mind peace. And the mind is not a peaceful ground. It can be a pretty turbulent ground, and it's designed to be that way. It's designed to kind of keep us guessing and wondering and looking at the past and projecting in the future. The problems we get ourselves into is when we stay in that place versus backing up to like the deeper place within us, the knowing.
Creativity is really, I think, important. It's a spiritual thing, and I think that we were created by a creator with the ability to create both physically and with our creativity that we hold in our hands and our minds, and the essence of who we are. And you think about the guys that did these great sculptures out of marble and everything. They didn't have a goal of I'm going to make this beautiful this beautiful statue. They had a vision of this statue,
and revealing itself. Many times you would hear these artists say that I'm just chipping away for this to reveal its own presence.
Mm-hmm. So visions are, I found them to be a much more powerful method. There's a lot of power in having a vision. I used to think that I was really good at goal setting. I thought that, that was something I really used to empower myself, but I found that the goals were limiting. It wasn't, and I never really got the feeling that I thought I would get when I achieved the goal. I mean, there would be maybe some momentarily, little bit of bliss, but it's like the end of the road. A goal is like the end, and a vision is like when you get into this place where your visions are reality, you can just live into it.
It's the beginning. It's funny, we had a close friend of ours who would always make statements, and he would go, end of the story. And then Jack said, how about beginning of story, like shifting it, and visions are more in that beginning of the story because it's an unfoldment. It's flexible. It's got room to become powerful and take on its own magnificence.
Yeah, the flexibility is it can evolve, and it can get bigger and bigger, and people can share that. What if the I had a dream speech wasn't an I had a dream speech, it was an I had a goal speech? I don't know if it would have taken on that same kind of shared vision, that collective vision, or it's like a vision other people can grow into it and provide their energy and watch the thing become like a big cloud, and it just gets expanding and expanding and expanding.
I love it. That's the Empower 11 symbol, because Empower 11 is more about the visions in life that take on this quantum multiplied energy. It's the oneness of who we are, tapping into the oneness that's around and surrounds, and we become part of it, and it's shared with other people, and it's much more fluid, and the energy grows. So when Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, and other people had that same dream. They shared in that vision, and it had, even when you say, if he said, I had a goal, even just saying that, it feels much more stuck.
Yeah. The Empower 11, it's about getting into that good place within yourself, that the gifts that you were here, to give, to share. We all come into the world with our unique DNA, our unique fingerprints, the uniqueness of who we are, and it's the people that can get into that really good place within themselves and develop that and share that with the world. Those are the people that are going to make the most profound difference and reap the most rewards. So it's about getting that special place of who you are on the inside in tune with who you are on the outside in your outside world. And that's kind of like visions. They start from within, and then they become a reality on the outside.
And I love the word share, Jack, how you're explaining, saying about having that good place that we share with who we are to the world. I truly believe that the most powerful, masterful people that have lived, they walk this earth sharing the vision of who they were. And they didn't walk this earth saying, here's the goal I'm going to set for everybody around me. Here's the service I'm going to do for everybody around me. They shared from that highest place. And then serving and goals become like minor pieces to the bigger puzzle. So a vision is that bigness of life.
Yeah, goals are setting limits. I mean, no matter how high you raise that bar of that goal, you're still setting a bar. And that's a limiting thing. When you start raising the bar so high that the bar goes away, I mean, that's where your goals become visions. And that is just it's not as rigid of a place to be. It's not all in the mind. It's something that you can just relax and breathe into.
Yeah, relax into life. I mean, that really is where we can tap into our magic. When we talk about goals being limits, I mean, I see the limitation part of it is our goals can only be as good as the history that our mind can conceive up, and that becomes a limit. So our minds are really this open programming place that's based on the history we've accumulated. And visions can be so much bigger than just this history. Like if we say, okay, I want to achieve this goal, and we can only dream it up as big as the history our mind has placed these markers to be, where visions become much more open to this serendipitous, this magical details where we say God is in the details, where it's a bigger place and it's bigger than what the history of the mind can conceive.
And goals can also have this negative attachments. It's like, well, as soon as you set a goal, it's like there's pressure, and it's like, what if I don't achieve my goal? And then say you do achieve this goal, and then like for myself in business, you would set these goals, and you were rewarded if you hit your goal. But then the next month, the goal would be higher, and you'd be like, "Oh my God! Okay, I worked really hard. I made this goal, but next month it's just going to get bigger, and that has this negativeness. And when you're trying to expand, you want to take out negativity out of there, because that isn't gonna empower you. You don't do negative things to get positive results.
Yeah, you do empowering things. And so when you talk about this business that you worked for, Jack, this corporation, this was years ago, and you were pioneering, like in the cell phone industry before cell phones were even common, what was happening is that you approached that business with more of a vision. So you had like stratosphere almost results every single month. And so when you place like more of a smaller scale goal oriented place on it, it was like, how could you keep outpacing that?
Yeah, it was interesting. People told me I was crazy. I've gotten used to that. But when I got in the wireless business, I sold my sign business, and the sign business was very creative, and it was all about creating a vision. I would see the sign in my mind. I would see the graphic that we were, I'd see it in my mind first, and then it was getting the outside world to match my inside world, And then when I sold that and I got into the wireless business, everybody told me I was crazy, that those things would never catch on. I don't even like to answer the phone at home. Why would I ever want to carry one? And they're so big and bulky. And then I told them they were going to get smaller. And then people said, I don't want it smaller. I'd lose it. And when I told them about texting, everybody thought that was ridiculous. Why would we ever text somebody when you could just call them? And when I told them it was going to replace their home phone, and it was just more than people's could really conceive, because most people are limited in their thinking. They don't have the ability to imagine and to have big visions.
Well, a lot of people have let society close that down in them. I mean, if you listen to children, we come into this world with highly imaginative visions. And it's so funny. We'll be sitting at the dinner table and doing like a family check-in, and we'll talk about what's going on and how to make things better. And my 9-year-old will present things like to Jack, well, what if a volcano erupts in our backyard? And Jack so now we have to, whenever we're talking about just the daily things and how to improve on it, Jack will have to say, okay, well...
you can play in the backyard, but no screaming when, there's golfers out there that are golfing, and they'll say things. Well, what if a meteor was hitting? Or a plane was going to crash on there? I mean, shouldn't we yell and tell everybody? And all these what if scenarios.
Well, but it's just interesting that we are born with big visions and the imagination to do it, and then somehow we get closed down to it, and then we get really trapped into these small steps of that we think we can only build our lives by hard work and these goals that are based on some history. And I want to talk about how, Jack, when you were mentioning about the cell phone and you had a vision that you knew this was going to be the way of the future. Now, visions work two ways. There's the visions that have more of a prophecy that's kind of out in front of our lives, that's happening before its time. And then there's the visions where, we know from this inner knowing of what we want to accomplish, and both occur as glimpses of this is the direction we need to be moving in, and others occur as this is what I know to be true inside of me, and it's a knowing. And I liked how when you got into the wireless industry, there was a knowing that you really felt like this was going to be the way of the future, that technology and communication was going to move this way, and when we become open to this creative force and this power and this animation of life that surrounds us, we look at people who tap into this way of the future, and it has a prophecy kind of feeling to it. But this comes down to getting into out in front of our lives. And goals, there's 3 ways that we evolve and learn from how we're going to move forward in our lives. And there's the psychological part of looking at our past and doing better, and that's a longer slowing curve, and looking at our past and creating a goal to get to a better place. It's just a longer, slower way to achieve the bigness we're possible of in our lives. And then there's in the present, okay, here's how I'm going to make it better. Here's my goal, how to make it better. Here's how I'm learning from this pattern. And then there's getting out in front of our lives, where we can actually see and start beginning to get in touch with how it's going to be, and we know it ahead of time. And goals, then, it's funny, when we're living in these big visions and we do something great today, it feels like, wow, I accomplished this goal, but it wasn't a place of the mind. Look what I accomplished today. Look what I accomplished in this day, whether it's learning something new, having something happen. I know when we talk about, Jack, when you had this vision at the beginning of 2010 that your life was going to take on a new change, and it was a strong declaration, and it was like really from this highly place of vision. One of the things I wrote down was a radio show for myself. It's hosting a radio show.
Well, maybe someday that'll come true. You never know. Sometimes these visions actually, work. Yeah, I mean, in the end of 2009, I had this, I declared that 2010 was going to be my year. And I had a pretty strong vision that was going to be so. I mean, it was so strong that it started developing into just this knowing, and in this place of knowing is where you can just relax into it and allow it to just keep expanding and expanding. And I kept growing with it. I was doing goal setting, and I was like writing down goals and things like that, and I was trying to raise them higher and higher, the goals higher and higher, because I kept feeling like I was being limited by how I was setting them. And an interesting thing is, in some areas of my life, I was setting the bar pretty high. Other areas, I was setting it pretty low. Like, I just gotten out of a painful relationship, and I thought, okay, love, I'm putting on the back burner. I'm setting that, I'm lowering the bar way down in that area because I'm not even going there. And I'm going to concentrate on my hopes and my dreams and my aspirations. But what I found is by lowering the bar in any area of my life, it affects all of my life. So I had to, get into this place where I just sort of raised the bar so high that the bar just went away. And then this powerful life vision type stuff was presenting itself into my life, and I was allowing myself to go there and be flexible with it. There's if I would have set the goal at that time, there was a goal of winning this trip. There's a sales contest I was getting involved with online marketing, and I wanted to win this trip to Sundance. But then as I started meditating on it, I thought that, listen, my vision is to travel and
adventure and travel.
Yeah, I mean, I have a strong vision that I'm traveling the world, and that's what happened. There's no way I could have prepared myself, or I would have ever even thought to set a goal that I was going to go on 29 some flights in a year, and yet that's exactly what happened. That was the reality of it. I went to beautiful exotic locations, and most of it was paid for, and just all these things just started showing up in my life and being provided, and it all came from having such a clear openness to this life vision.
Yeah, that's what I love about Jack. You were so adamant about, when we were beginning the Empower 11 courses, about the Empower Flex. The opening course that we have that's coming out is how to flex into this empowering place through openness, and how we really can tap into this miraculous, serendipitous type energy that becomes available, and it's bigger. I feel like with goals, we have to force forward to get them. Where with visions, they take on the power of a dream, and we can get pulled to our dreams. It becomes mutual in the sense of life, and it's that Empower 11 symbol where who we are on the inside and what we desire on the outside mutually begins conspiring to find one another. And that's how I feel it happened with you and I. When I had that vision of love would come to my home, it came from a place that was beyond what my mind could understand, or the timing in my mind, or any of that. And when it happened with the two of us, it was like we were being pulled to this bigger vision of love that was happening between us. And it was interesting that, Jack, you even said that at the time. You said, I feel like I'm being so pulled to what we are that it's like I'm just running down this big mountain and I can't stop the momentum.
Yeah, the universe starts conspiring in our favor. And I'm glad you brought up EmpowerFlex, because that the thing is, when we go into something with and we set with expectations, so we start a book, we start like a self-improvement book, or we start a series or something like that, and we have some expectations where these expectations are like they're limiting, and it's almost like it's in the goal category. I think expectations are in a goal category, and the visions are just open to the bigness of exactly what it is. So we can learn quicker. We can really absorb it, and not just learn in the mind, but really absorb in the heart and the soul of who we are when we get into this place of real openness and flexibility. And there's this huge power in that, because the strongest trees will break in the wind, and the biggest, baddest trees will break in the wind if they're not flexible. But the ones that can flex and bend with the wind, those are the ones that grow and flourish and don't get broken.
Yeah, that's being highly adaptable, and that EmpowerFlex has to do with, as life is presenting, knowing how to do the flow and the ease and the rhythm to flex into the reality that we truly want and we desire. If you look at all the great teachers who've lived, I'm like that you brought up expectations. They talk about how, whether it was Jesus or Buddha, how our attachments became such sources of suffering, and that when we let go of that, which is where the visions live, that's how goals can be a form of disappointment, because we have all this attachment and expectation, and it's a place of the mind.
Yeah. So when we can relax and enjoy the ride, enjoy the process of it, when we get excited about this vision, when we see the beauty in the vision and we know we are being drawn to that vision, then that's where we can just be in a really good place of just a bliss, a meditative state of riding the wave into this beauty that we see in our visions.
That's what surfers get hooked into, is that it's not the goal of the wave. Mm-hmm. It's the ride.
Yeah.
It's the ride. It's enjoying the process of it.
Right. And, it's the thing about surfers is I'm not a surfer, but, I've talked to, we live in California and stuff. And I've talked to some surfers, and the thing about the surfing is they don't always see this big wave that they're jumping on. I mean, the waves that they're getting on are small.
Yeah.
And they envision, they have this vision of, this one's my set. This is the one I'm going to pick because I can see it. And sometimes all the other surfers will say, they don't see it, and somebody will get on it and end up being, one of their perfect waves, one of their best rides. And that's just that beauty of being in tune and being out there in the water and being in tune to what the universe has to offer, and being able to get into a place where our visions just become our reality.
Well, goals, they can create such a anxiety of desperation or loss or, gain that keeps us off our center. And I say this because if we're so tied up in goals, it can feel like we got there a little too late. Or what if we do this a little too early? And when you talk about, that's what it reminded me of when you were talking about the catching the right wave for you. It's like we all have that in our lives, and visions can help us get in tune with it, where we don't have to feel like, am I too early? Am I too late? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? We get into this rhythm and flow, and we all have our own wave. And it's the ride. It's the ride in the journey that we're on, and getting into that flow and relaxing into it. Because if we get true to those visions that are in our hearts, then life starts to respond to that. And when like I look at like one of the most magnificent, miraculous things that happened in my life. And I mean, and Jack and I still look at each other and go, this is such a divine miracle how we ended up together, because we could have never planned the goal of how we could have met and how perfect and compatible and matching up, you know, our love, our partnership, our relationship could be. And I really like that. You know, I was saying to Jack the other night about when we just get into that match of our lives and that rapport and that vision, it just becomes so organized and so perfect for who we are. And then he had mentioned God is good, orderly direction, and visions move us in that.
Yeah, that's, you know, there is this magic, this, when you get into that that good place of vibrational harmony, and just the universe starts to support us in our visions. And sometimes it's big ways, sometimes it's little ways, these like little coincidences that aren't so coincidental. You know, Ann and I, before we even met, you know, we were just Skyping and talking and everything, and we were talking about our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations and our visions, and we were talking for basically your whole way from L.A. to back through Santa Barbara and up through wine country and all that. And one of the things that I said to her, because we were working on this this project, this internet
business project,
this online project, and I said, you know, you have this small little Mac, and it'd be nice if you could just plug that into an external monitor, and you can see things really big and stuff, you know. And I just gotten a nice new one, and I was just kind of saying, you know, hey, you should have one too. And then you want to finish the story?
Well, this is one of the defining phone calls that him and I had, where it was really, started working together business-wise, and then it grew of its own energy. It just started naturally taking on this own rhythm that we started getting to know each other. And this was one of the phone calls where we got the most personal, and we were really sharing like from this heart-to-heart place with each other. And now we were not just communicating business. It was like we were really getting to know the heart and soul of each other. And I just come back from Hawaii, and I was driving from the airport up to my home, and it was a 2.5 hour drive, and we talked the whole way. And one of the things Jack said is, you know, what would be really nice, Ann, is if you had that external monitor. And I'm doing this as, you know, on my drive home. I get home and it's like 1:30 in the morning, you know, my time on Pacific time, and sitting on my desk is an external monitor. And so it's just so interesting, this place of, you know, what feels like this prophecy of visions and this manifestation of visions and these details that become miraculous. And, you know, when we get into these coincidences, it's just energies coinciding with one another, and it becomes very serendipitous, very expanding, and it becomes that real magic of God is in the details. And I was just so blown away with this, you know, with Jack and his magic and this idea of how tuned in he was to our lives and this coinciding energy that we had, for me to have a monitor sitting there on my desk when I got home.
I'm just saying, she got home at 1:30 in the morning. That would have been 4:30 my time.
Yeah.
That we were talking till. Crazy.
It took on its own energy. He was always so awake, and then after a while he would say, "I've got to."
Yeah, I would just like, all of a sudden, boom, I'm out. Voorhees out. So, the visions, the whole point of this is that yes, visions are more powerful than goals. I believe that. I've seen that. I've seen the evidence of that, and I've seen these visions become realities in crazy, crazy ways. And, you know, some of them have been financial. You know, I said to Ann, you know, I have a vision that we're going to get an $11,000 check. And we were not expecting an $11,000 check.
Yeah, this is where the whole Empower 11 started taking on some real magic. And so we had a whole nother set of coincidences that he was at, a marketing seminar. I was at a writing seminar or conference. They were both conferences, actually. They were big conferences, big expos. Mine was at a writer's one, and his was at a marketing one. And they were the same exact weekend, and they were in the hotels beside each other. And we were really getting into this high vibrational 11 state.
Yeah, that was a mind blower, because I got this thing and I said, to Ann, I said, listen, this thing came up. This is when we would first, we were kind of new living together. And I said, listen, this marketing seminar thing came up, and I got this opportunity to go, and I really think that I want to do this. And she said, oh my God, well, that's the same weekend that I have a writers conference in LA that I go to just about every year. And I said, well, wow, that works out really well. And I said, well, where is it? Maybe we can arrange to get in a hotel that's near each other. And it ended up that they were right next door. The hotels
side by side, the Marriott and the Hilton. I mean, they were literally a parking lot away.
They started on the same times, the same day. I mean, our breaks coincided with each other, so we could have lunch together and stuff. It was very surreal.
So we were on the 11th floor in like room 811, and Jack kept saying $11,000 days are on our way, $11,000 days are on our way, and that was his vision, and he was saying that. And it was so interesting. We came home from that weekend where, we had a little backlog of mail, and sitting in the mail was a check for over $11,000, because Jack kept saying $11,000 days and are on our way, $11,000 days. And it was not one that we were truly expecting in that way on that day. And I looked at this check and I showed it to Jack. I'm like, are you seeing all the numbers I'm seeing for this one check? And he's like, yeah, it says that. So it was like, that's that confirmation that, if we can allow our visions to expand, and that was in a way that we were unexpected, this is where we can allow the universe to show us in miraculous ways that we're least expecting it when we are in the bigness of our visions. Because if we stay in just a goal and we feel like we have to make it happen on our own, that can be a much more lonely place. And if Jack would have said, my goal is $11,000 days, my goal is $11,000 days, honestly, I don't know how we would have, I don't know if we could have created it on our own that way, that day.
It's just not as powerful. Okay, and so you want to cover a little bit of the how-to, the real nitty-gritty of what works for you in your life and how your visions become a reality. I mean, the exact steps that you want to do in your life, or that you use to create such miraculous results with your life vision.
Yeah, I'm excited to share this part, because I feel like this is when I was really able to make some real quantum shifts. Like when I say quantum, like big shifts in my life, was when I started getting in touch with how to create, like I call them rituals, because rituals become our habits. And I started practicing rituals that were on a daily level, what would support the visions of my life that I wanted to do. And, we've talked about how I've done the rituals of the new moon and the full moon, where we're getting into what we want to have released from our life and what we want to have become in our life. And that's on some of our previous episodes. I feel really strongly that we have to create rituals which become our habits, that infuse the power of our visions, and it becomes the living statement of our lives. This way we can become inspired and supportive. I feel meditation is absolutely one of the key places, because meditation is when we unattach to the mind, because the mind is only as good as what it's learned and its history. And there is that whisper, there's that intuition, there's that communion with God, the creator, the universe, the powers that be, the supreme all that is, that we can connect to, that is the spark of life of who we are. And meditating is what takes us into that place that we go beyond the limitations of the mind, and we become an observant almost of the mind, and realize that we are not our minds. We are something much deeper and more powerful and stronger and inspiring. And, inspiration is really in spirit. It's that place of being in spirit. The mind is what gets infused from the worldly aspect, which is information, which is in form, and it's more concrete, and it doesn't have that same fluidity to it. And we need all of these places in us to navigate our world and to create our dreams, but we have to step back into this place of meditating. And that's what I love about what we're creating with Empower 11, and we have some things that we've done in our Empower Flex program, which are designed to help us get into this really powerful, guided meditational place within ourselves, so we step back from the mind place that can become a limitation, and we ease into this more relaxing essence of who we are.
Okay, so, what some of the practices I use in visualization. One is the thing that I visualize, or that, and there's so much has been talked about power of visualization and everything. And the thing is, for me, I know that my visions need to line up with who I am. My visions need to be things that support me and my purpose of why I'm here and what I'm here to do. And most of these visions that come fairly quickly and effortlessly, and that's kind of the key point about the vision is effortlessly. It's not a place of force. But these are all tools to help me live my best life. And when it's not like I just make up my mind to just create a vision. It's like, oh, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to create a vision. It's on my list here, my list of things to do. They more get presented to me, and I think this is something that I could really dig. This is something that's it's inspiring. It lines up with the truth of who I am, and I think that it just starts to create itself, and I'm not really forcing it. So when I go there and I allow myself to really go there and feel it becomes like a feeling. I feel like I've already done it. What is it going to feel like when this happens? And the details and the textures of it, and I really think that the universe responds to details. The visions don't always show up in the exact details in which we visualize them, but I think the more detailed, the more truer it gets into this reality. The visions, for me, the visions happen when it becomes a knowing. When I know that this is in truth, and this is a good thing. This is a good thing for this to happen, and I know it so well. Like this is happening. It's just happening, and now I can relax and let go and ease into it, because I don't think that there's a lot of power in forcing a vision. Now, I know a lot of people do the vision boards, and I'm okay with that. I think that that's fine to do vision boards. I think that's a great practice. But even in the movie The Secret, the guy talks about when he's unloading boxes and moving into his new house, and his son says, "What's in this box?" And he opens it up and he says, "Oh, well, these are my vision boards." And he looks at one of his vision boards, and there's the house that he had just moved into, the exact house. Not, so, but the thing is, he kind of forgot about it. He had the vision. He had it powerful enough that he, cut it out of a magazine, stuck it on his board, but he didn't have to use his mind to constantly think about, I want this house, this house needs to happen, I'm going to visualize this house, I'm going to really concentrate on this house, because the force, again, is not where the power is.
Forcing it into reality is not what he did.
Yeah, he relaxed into it. He allowed it to happen. It was an alignment. He got in tune and got in alignment with that, and the universe supported that.
That's why, I love the Empower 11 symbol. And Jack, how you always talk about it's like the tuning fork. You ding one area of the tuning fork, and then the other one just starts to get into vibrational harmony with it. And this is where I like to talk about, visions that are powerful, that take on their own energy and work like the tuning fork, are when they are in good karma with who we are, having our personal laws of karma, our personal laws of cause and effect of who we are in this vibrational harmony with the Creator, with who we are in this good place. And it's not an infringement on other people, and it's not a force. It's a relaxed state where we are responsible and a great custodian of this energy place of who we are and how we're giving our gifts to the world. And then our visions take on material form in corresponding, matching ways and how they manifest back to us.
And it's important to concentrate on the feeling of being in that vision. So you may, in your vision, and as you're meditating on it, and as you're allowing yourself to really go there, it may be the feeling of driving down the coast on a beautiful sunny day with the top down in this exotic Italian sports car, and you can visualize, you can feel the grip of the steering wheel and the smell of the leather and the wind blowing in your hair and all this feelings that go with it. Now, the reality is that may show up for you in a way that you wouldn't expect. It could show up in a way that you're galloping down the beach on the coast on a beautiful horse, and with the wind and the manes flowing and the smell and the breeze and all those things can show up for you in that beautiful way. But the universe has a way of delivering in not exact detail that you may envision. But it's the feeling. The feeling is the important part. Concentrate on what those feelings are as you're doing this visualization process, and then let go. Let go of the concentration, let go of it all, and just breathe into it. And give yourself some joy today from what you are going to experience in the future, because that is the gift, that is the spark, that is the start of the vibrational frequency that can allow this beautiful gift that the universe has to offer you to show up in your life.
The example that I have that is so close to aligned to the way you're talking about how to visualize, Jack, is as a parent. I mean, we can have these, if we had goals for our children to be, to know how to do something by a certain time period, to be set at these certain bar areas, it would be exhausting to raise children without having visions that we're working with. And this place of this feeling that you're talking about, Jack, it's like if we had, like when you're describing this car, if we had it, where we were going to, like let's say we are going to have a newborn baby. It's that, we take on that energy of being a really good parent by being in the vision of what it feels like holding this newborn, this perfect life with, all this beautiful body and all of its perfection. But if we were so set on exactly what it was going to look like and what it was going to be, we would miss out. But it's that feeling that comes natural that we have all experienced if we've been a parent before, that we know that's that same kind of magic we take to manifesting and creating and sharing the good of life.
The ownership of your vision is once you own this vision, then you own it. Those things show up. Those things, if everything you've done is in creating this vision lines up with the truth of who you are, and then you own this vision, this is where you own it on the inside, then the outside shows up.
And it is truly miraculous, and life can present it to you. I keep saying serendipitous because it is in such a serendipitous way, because when I said over and over again in my mind, when it would want to go to what about the future? What about a relationship again? It just was too heavy for me to even figure out. I would just say love would come to my home. And when I look at the serendipitous that happened, the serendipitous, miraculous, chain of events that brought Jack and I together, and how to the detail we line up, it's like, it's as miraculous as like when a newborn life comes into this world, how we are awed in this miraculousness of what can be created from just that beginning part of a vision. And I feel that in my heart, that it's like, once you own that, it truly is a conspiring world to match that.
Yeah, so we were like two pieces of a puzzle that fit together perfectly, and what fun fitting those two pieces together.
Yeah, it was even, I just want to mention something that it was even when we were getting to know each other, I had said, for me, and I wrote it in my list, and this is a vision that I wanted somebody who lived a sober life. I wanted somebody who didn't drink and didn't need that socially, because of my creativity and what I'm doing. This is just something I don't participate in. And I wanted somebody who was a match to that. And it was even down to that detail that when I was having that drive back from LA, that Jack told me, at that time it was 12 years, that he's been sober for 12 years. And it was like, wow. I had just said to my brother over dinner, before I got in that car, that somebody who drinks, it's a deal breaker for me. I can't even have someone who does it a little bit socially. That's not a match to what I want. And then here Jack tells me that. I mean, it's amazing how the details begin to fill in. So we can be specific to what we want. When we're talking about visions, we're talking about things. That's what was important to my heart. I mean, I own that. I did not drink. And that was one of the first things some of my friends would say to me. They were like, Ann, well, does he drink? I mean, you don't drink. Is he okay with that? I don't want to.
Very okay with that.
Yeah, it's like these were details that were just part of a vision of how I live my life.
Often, people are always asking us for advice on this, advice on that, and we're happy to share the gifts that we've learned in this life. And the thing is, we're often asked about relationships, and I tell people to write down exactly what you're looking for. Exactly what you're looking for in a partner. Be very specific, and then hold yourself to those standards. And, recently I had, a lovely person from Michigan said, hey, I did that and it showed up and I thought it was this, and but it turned out they broke up. And I asked her, I said, well, was it truly what you had written down, or was it the idea of what you had written down? There's the deal is, you have to be very truthful with yourself, and truth has power. It has tremendous power. When a no is a no and a yes is a yes. Actually, their breakup was a graceful step down. Something that doesn't support you. And Anne always says, that which supports may boldly steps forward, and that what doesn't gracefully steps down. And that was a graceful step down. Now, I do want to say, and we're running a little bit
close on our time.
We're going to be leaving with the Empower Flex that we played last week that Ann did. It's a short inspirational audio track that's they're really beautiful.
How to get into this strong vision of your life and what you want to create. It's designed to open that up inside.
Yeah, and really well done. But I want to talk about this thing about this doing the daily things that support your vision. So, Anne, Anne has this vision. She had this vision of love coming to her home. I had this vision of love, and the thing is, though, in order to have that great love, you have to live that great love.
Yes, that's good.
On a daily basis. So Anne is all about love, and I am somebody who knows how to love. And those things have to be there in order for that vision of the great love to come through. If you're somebody who does not have that ability yet to really love on the highest level, it's not just going to show up at your door and present itself because you are not ready yet. So there are things to do on a daily basis to get yourself into that good place within yourself in order to receive the vision that you have in your truest places.
That's unconditional love. And unconditional love is to the self, to thy neighbor, to the others, and it's when we don't have attachments, we don't have expectations. I want to say real quick that when we're in this experience of our visions and the experience of our love or whatever it is we desire to grow more in our lives and expand in our lives, and we're not in the idea of it, this is when we go beyond the mind. Goals can be an idea of what we need to achieve or what we need to get. Visions become the experience that exude out of who we are.
And the thing is to be able to see the vision when it shows up and to have this gratitude and this gracefulness and gratefulness of what you are being presented in this gift of life that you have. And you want to introduce this audio, and we'll start.
Wherever you're at, if you're in your office, at a desk, I just ask you to take a few minutes, take a few deep breaths, whether you're driving in your car, whether you're cooking in your kitchen, however you're listening to this, I ask you just to take a few deep breaths, allow yourself to open up. This Empower Flex audio was designed to help you access that highest epic destiny place. That's where your visions live. That's where that whisper of life infuses you and imprints you with the highest truth you're here to live, and become open to this guiding force in life.
You have no ordinary body. You have no ordinary mind. You have no ordinary soul. You have a mind that can be infused of the all-giving power of God, the all-loving presence that penetrates inspiring thoughts. All transformation is a moment away. Your God is closer to you than your mind can ever understand. A rapid transformation can happen for the truly willing and open. Hold your dreams in the purest place to transform into reality, uncontaminated by the common thought, uncontaminated by the doubts of others to influence. You can hold it in a pure space and speak to that place in your mind. Reality will flex to meet it. You will inform whatever is your current state into a different reality. A reality that is built from that genuine place of power, that becomes magnanimous in its ability to respond, monumentous in its ability to support your destiny, the epic destiny you are called to live, not an insecure path that begs for validation by some outside authority to let you know you have arrived in your sweet spot of real power. It is a flex to empower, the highest calling of truth that you will learn to know, and it knows you. The most sacred place where you will be validated by your original knowing, in the spiritual endorsement that you are something extraordinary. And in this place of power invoked in you at the core of who you are sits the will of God. And the use of this will is the power of our highest freedom of transformation. It's the game of willingness. Willingness to become remarkable with your extraordinary destiny, ordained and encoded from your purest place of truth. The truth that comes from the highest authority that transfers, imprints, inspires, and passes on to you your real authentication of your authentic life to live. In PowerFlex, remove the work out of the mind. Flex reality. Empower yourself.
Thanks for listening to Empower 11 Radio. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the listeners and all the feedback that we've gotten from all over the world. For more information on EmpowerFlex, go to empower11.com, and we will see you on the radio next week.